what do you stand for?
I stand for doing the right thing for the country in the long term, not taking the easy way out. I think that's the change that people want to see in their politics. That's the change that I'm going to bring. And you saw that with my decision on net zero. I did something that I thought was right. You know, it was a big decision. And look, people could criticise me for that, but I thought what we're doing, the path we're on, is going to cost ordinary families £5,000, £10,000, £15,000. I didn't think that was right. We can hit our targets without doing those things. So I went out and set out a new realistic approach. And that's what you're going to see from me. That's the type of leadership you're going to get from me, because that's how we're going to change not just politics, that's how we're going to change our country for the better.
You mentioned net zero there. In that press conference last week, you said that a lack of consent risks support for net zero. Why not give MPs a vote? They never voted before net zero, have they?
Well, actually MPs do vote on these carbon budgets which decide how much we're going to reduce carbon emissions, and one of the things I pointed out in my new approach to net zero is we've got to be more transparency around that when that vote happens again in the future. So when I said very clearly, when MPs vote on the amount of carbon reduction that we're going to do, alongside that they should be considering all the measures that are required to deliver that carbon reduction. That's the kind of honesty and transparency that politicians should have with the country. I didn't like this kind of Westminster consensus that all this stuff was being cooked up over here. People weren't being open with the country about what was required. I wanted to change that. And look, and as you could see, there were people who criticised me for the decision I made, but I'm going to do what I believe is right for the long term of this country. I'm not going to take the easy way out. That's my approach to leadership.
This time last year you weren't Prime Minister, you are now. How does it feel to be at a conference when most members didn't vote for you?
Yeah, the spirit of conference is great. You know, I've been out and about talking to members, talking to colleagues. People have a spring in their step. They can see that we're making progress. When I first became PM, I set out 5 immediate priorities to focus on. Halving inflation. Inflation is coming down. Stopping the boats, really important. And the numbers this year are down by a fifth. First time that's happened, that someone's brought the numbers down. So look, those plans are working and people are responding well to what we're doing. New approach on net zero, increase in the national living wage for 2 million low-paid people. Today, Jade's Law, making sure that awful criminals who murder their partners don't have any rights over their children. That obviously is not common sense. We're changing that. And crucially, supporting people in towns. More people live in towns in our country than live in big cities to get all the attention from Westminster politicians. I'm changing that. We're giving people in towns, 55 towns across the UK, £1 billion long-term funding and putting local people in charge of how to spend that money. So look, there's lots of good stuff going on.
Good stuff. Is it right, though, on tax that nurses and teachers will be paying the higher rate of income tax by 2027 on current forecasts?
Look, I'm a Conservative. Everyone here at this conference wants to see taxes come down. Of course we do.
That's when is the person Prime Minister?
The best tax cut I can deliver for people is to halve inflation. It's inflation that is making life difficult for nurses, for teachers, for everyone else that you talked about. And that's why the first of my 5 priorities is to halve inflation.
Have you ever had a mortgage yourself, though?
Of course I have. And it's exactly why I want to ease the burden on people's mortgages. How do we do that? If we restrain inflation, then interest rates can stop going up and start coming down, right? That's straightforward economics, right? That's the best way for me to help people, and the plan is working. When I came into office, inflation was at 11%. Right, we are getting it down. The last few numbers show that the plan is working, and just as Margaret Thatcher did, just as Nigel Lawson did, those are proud Conservatives. I'm following in their tradition. Get inflation down, because inflation is the evil that we must defeat, and good things will flow from that.
At the weekend, 3 cabinet ministers, your colleagues, said that ECHR withdrawal should be on the table. Is it?
Well, what all of us are completely agreed on is that stopping the boats is a priority. That's why one of my 5 priorities is to stop the boats. We're doing a lot of things to bring that about, and I really want all your viewers to know this. For the first time since small boats become a thing, the numbers are down this year. Let me just say that again. They are down. They are down by a fifth. Right? That hasn't happened anywhere else in Europe. They're down because of all the things we're doing. The new deal I signed with Albania. We've returned almost 3,000 illegal migrants to Albania. And you know what? They've stopped coming. That's why we need to get Rwanda up and running. Now, I am confident that the plans we've got in place will work. They will deliver. They've got a lot to do. Of course we've got a lot to do. But this is a huge priority for me, and we're making a difference.
Will you ever stop the boats?
Yeah, as I said, look, for the first time ever, the numbers are down. They are down by a fifth. That didn't happen by accident. That happened because we're doing a bunch of things. New deal with Albania, tackling crime gangs in upstream in different parts of Europe. Look, my view on this is simple. It should be the British people who decide who comes to our country, and not criminal gangs. And do you know what? I talk to other European leaders a lot when I'm out and about. They're increasingly seeing that too. The conversation on this in Europe has changed. When I set out my stall on this 8 months ago, again, lots of people criticised me, but what you're seeing now from lots of other European leaders is acknowledgement that what I said is right. They are all recognising that it needs to be our countries that are in control of who comes to us, not gangs, and we need to have systems that make that possible. So as I said then, where Britain leads, others will follow, and you're seeing that that's now happening.
You may have noticed that Nigel Farage is wandering around your conference, first time in decades. Would you have him back as a member of the Tory party?
Yeah, the Tory party is a very broad church, right? I welcome lots of people who want to subscribe to our ideals, to our values, right? And look, the thing I care about is delivering for the country, and the more people, as I've seen at this conference, we've got record attendance, I think, at this conference, lots of energy, lots of engagement, people are responding well to what we're doing. We're making the right long-term decisions for the country. We want to bring change. That's what I'm about. The contrast with Labour could not be clearer. You've got Keir Starmer, who, no one knows what he stands for, flip-flops left and right. The country can see through that. That's not leadership. What I'm offering is different. I know people want change. I'm the person to deliver it because we're going to do politics differently. You saw that on net zero. You'll see that this week. That's what you get from a Conservative government.
Farage, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks very much.